Valentine's Day to you and whoever you might be celebrating with, whether that's your cat, your significant other, your besties, it's all good. I've got my cat with me today sitting on my desk to the right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
My partner is working away, so we celebrated over the weekend. And I know Casey has some exciting plans too coming up this afternoon. But before we get talking about that stuff, we are going to be talking about water quality today, which is really, really important. And it's one of those things I think a lot of us are not really aware of, unfortunately. I know that I still have so much to learn about water quality, especially even in my own city. So the only thing about water quality is what I learned when I was going through nutrition school. And it's actually kind of scary. But before we get started,
Nothing like doom and gloom on Valentine's Day.
frightening, but there's things you can do about it. So we'll end on a happy note. So before we get started, for those of you who don't know who we are, if you're new to our community, I'm Jessica Melnick. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, the founder of the Anti-Arthritis Method, the host of the Happy Joints Arthritis Solutions Group, and I help both women and men with various forms of arthritis get back to living their lives the way they choose to, not the way they have to. I'll hand it over to you, Casey.
Love it. My internet might be going in and out, so let me know. But I am Casey Kephart. I'm the founder of the Feel Good Formula. I'm a functional medicine nutritionist, and I work with women with all different types of autoimmune diseases to get you back to the activities you love, get your life back, trash those symptoms, all the things. And I reside in St. Petersburg, Florida, where it's another beautiful day here.
Wonderful. So, like I said, today we're talking about water quality, what is potentially in the water that you're drinking, and what you can do about it, and how you can actually find out more information about what's in your water and different types of filtration systems you may want to look into based on your budget. So we're talking about this because, like I said, a lot of us are, just not fully versed in what is actually in our water, what we want to avoid. And because we do need to consume a lot of water every day in order to stay hydrated, to stay healthy, so our body can just carry out its basic functions. And also it can help give us energy too. If we're dehydrated, we can feel really sluggish. So water is super important for so many reasons. And when it comes to the water we drink, when we're looking at our tap water, it can really vary in quality and contaminants as well. So I remember growing up, and my sweet grandma lived in this tiny little town in our province. And I remember their water was so awful.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I didn't think back then to buy bottled water, or it was just like we were told, no, it's safe to drink this water. It's been treated, but it would literally come out of the tap kind of foggy, and it would have a smell, and it did not taste good. Like, you literally would have to, like, I remember being thirsty and just like chugging it as quickly as I could because it was so gross. And thankfully where I live, our water tastes pretty darn good. I know that we have, of course, we live in a first world country. I'm in Canada. I know that we have safe, practices, and they are using filtration systems and doing all the things to treat the water so that it is generally safe, but there's still stuff that's often left behind. And I know even on a day-to-day basis, some days I can smell the chlorine when I am pouring my water out of the tap. Some days I don't. Some days I do. It can really vary. So there are potentially things like various chemicals, medications that have actually passed through people that have remained in our water, things like parasites, heavy metals. So let's look at what is potentially still in our water after it's actually treated. So fluoride and other heavy metals. So fluoride is a big thing, at least when I was growing up in the 80s. Where as kids, we had the dental hygienist come to the school and, teach us how to brush our teeth properly. And we were told how important it was to have fluoride. So fluoride in our toothpaste, and we have fluoride in our drinking water because it was thought to keep our teeth healthy. And we also had regular fluoride treatments at the dentist. So you'd go for your yearly checkup, and they'd usually give you this awful tasting, you could pick your flavor, but I remember, oh, it was so hard. They put it in these little teeth trays, and you have to like stick to your mouth and try not to like choke on your drool for like, I don't know how long. It was a horrible experience. I think I'm traumatized from
Yes.
fluoride treatments. And then if you accidentally swallow a bit of it, then you get super nauseated because fluoride is not meant to be ingested. So, despite what we were taught as children, fluoride is a heavy metal. It is a toxin that can accumulate in your body and can create sickness. So, you do not need fluoride in your toothpaste. And you definitely don't want it in your drinking waters. So, other heavy metals that are often found in even treated tap water are things like arsenic, mercury, which is toxic to our nervous system, lead, which is also toxic to our nervous system. And these are things that can lead to things like diseases like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's disease, fibromyalgia, and other neurological issues, because this heavy metal load can accumulate in fat, and our brain is fat. So we do not want heavy metal buildup in our bodies. So other heavy metals that are potentially in tap water are things like cyanide, which I'm sure, I don't really have to explain what cyanide is, and also chromium. Chromium is a mineral that we do need a tiny little bit of it, but very, very small. So we don't need extra. So Casey, do you want to take over from there on this happy talk?
Yes. And I want to lighten the mood a little bit and just say that just drinking the water that has this in there doesn't mean you're automatically going to get Parkinson's disease because you're going to be over toxic. This is just like the icing on the cake. This is one thing you can control to take out of your water so you get less of these toxic heavy metals. So if you keep drinking this every day, let's say for 50 years, you're not helping your case for diseases at all, but this is not the triggering point of why you're going to get Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or fibromyalgia. I just want to put that out there so we're not all scared to drink water anymore. So some other things that might be in your water are microorganisms. These are things like bacteria, viruses, and parasites, like Jessica said. Like we preach in our lives every week, is that we have bacteria in our guts, and it's a ratio between good and bad bacteria. We want 80% good, we want 20% bad. But if we're getting that bad bacteria from our water, we're just increasing that ratio to now be off balance. I remember when I moved to Arizona and there was no filtered water, there was no water bottles, and I needed water. It was so hot outside. We were getting all the things from the moving truck. I put my hand under the water, the tap water, and I just put it in my mouth. It had to be instantly. My stomach just boiled. Like it just like gurgled and boiled. And like that is the epitome of bacteria clashing with the other bacteria in my body. They were like fighting inside, and that just told me that tap water does not agree with me, probably doesn't agree with a lot of people. And I needed to get my Brita filter in there ASAP. So that's just one example of how tap water can affect somebody too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had mentioned before, there's disinfectants in water because, of course, they're treating it, right? So they're using chemicals to kill off things like bacteria and viruses and all these other nasty bugs that we don't want to drink. And so there's a lot of chlorine and chloroform that is often left behind, and you can often smell it in your water. And often it just does not get filtered out. So if you can get a water filter that can filter some of that out, it'll make your water taste a lot better for you. Other chemicals that are found in our tap water, things like asbestos, which is terrifying, nitrates and nitrites, and organic chemicals like solvents, pesticides, plastic, resins, and we had mentioned medications before. And lastly, radionucleotides. So things like radium, uranium, and radon, which is a byproduct of uranium. So depending on where you live, you may or may not have some of these things in your water supply. Do you want to add anything to any of those points, Casey? I know I went through that quite quickly there.
Yeah, I actually pulled up Chicago's water quality. Just I used to live in Chicago. It's a big city, so this might be distinctive of other water qualities if you live in a big city. And I pulled up where I live too, which is a little smaller city, just to compare. So Chicago's, there's a lot of chemicals that I can't even say that are in the water, so bear with me here. But we're 123 in Chicago. We're 123 times the amount of bromodichloromethane. Yum. We are 24 times the amount of chloroform. Mind you, this is what people use to kill other people.
And when you say times the amount, you mean like safe levels?
Yes, times the load that is allowed and safe to be in our water. Chicago is 9.7 times the load of chromium, which we just talked about. 16 times the load of dibromoacetic acid. What's another good one here? 319 times the load of haloacetic acid. And then right under it, it says potential effect, cancer. We are 103 times the load of another haloacetic acid, potential effect, cancer. 2.5 times the amount of nitrate, 2.5 times the amount of nitrate and nitrite, i.e. cancer. 13 times the load of radium, potential effect, cancer. 141 times the load of total trihalomethanes, potential effect, cancer. And then there's some other things we're above and beyond too, but that's disgusting. So to use a filtration system is in your best interest for autoimmune disease, and we're going to get right into possibly how this can affect your autoimmune disease. But when I was looking at this website, the ewg.org, they were saying that the Brita is probably just the baseline of what you can do to filter some of these things out to make it a little healthier. It's a very cost-effective way, and it's better than drinking tap water. A reverse osmosis system filters out way more than a Brita will, and it's probably a lot better for you over the long term as well, but it is a hefty investment. And then to rewire your whole house as well, because in the shower, I know you're not drinking your shower water. Maybe you are. I don't know. But but you soak it all into your skin, right? It is your skin is your largest organ, and we are just absorbing that. So you'll want to do the whole house if you are getting the reverse osmosis system. It's only best. I'm going to get off my rants there and pass it back to you, Jessica.
No, that's great. So just to clarify, for those of you who want to look up the water quality in your town, your city, go to www.ewg, so it stands for environmentalworkinggroup.org/tapwater. So you can find it there. You can literally type in your zip code. As far as I know, we do not have the equivalent in Canada. I don't know how to find out about water quality other than possibly calling like City Hall where you live and asking. I'm sure they have so much public information with the city and our governments that I'm sure that legally they would have to share this information.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you really want to find it, I'm sure you can, if that's going to help you decide what type of filtration system that you may want to try. I currently am using a little, it's called Santibia, and that's the brand I have. I'm not sure outside of Canada if you can get it, but I would say it's like a step above a Brita. It is a carbon water filter. It's just a pitcher, and I replace the filter every couple months, and it gets a lot of the nastiness out. It makes the water taste so much better, and it also remineralizes my water because a lot of times what happens in filtration or distillation is that we take a lot of the minerals out of our water. And a lot of us are already deprived of minerals, or, if we're, especially if we're ill, we're maybe not absorbing as much as we could if we had a healthier gut. And also, depending on where you live, our soils over time have become so depleted that the minerals that we're often getting from we're just not getting minerals and vitamins, like nutrition in general, from our food because our soils are often depleted. So to get some minerals in your water is really, really helpful. And I was going to mention another one too that's really popular that I'm looking into purchasing, and it's a countertop filter, and it's called a Berkey. And
I've heard of it.
yeah, and it looks excellent. They have everything on their website about everything that it does filter out. That would be something I'm looking into. The size that I want right now, because we have a smaller home and there's just two of us, that one is currently out of stock. So that's something I'm definitely looking into. And then, yes, someday the whole home reverse osmosis would be amazing because, like Casey said, you get toxins in your skin too. So right now, what I use is I just have like a screw-on water filter for my shower. It's super easy to install. Yeah, so I've used those, and it helps really cut back on the chlorine. So then your skin's a lot less dry. So especially if you're like myself, you live in this like cold, dry climate.
Tundra?
Yeah, when you live in the Arctic tundra and it's really cold and dry in the winter, it's really nice not to have chlorine on your skin because it gets really itchy and flaky and dry. So reducing that really, really helps, and it just makes the water so much nicer. So just some small things that you can do that, if you aren't prepared to invest in, under the sink reverse osmosis would be another more budget friendly step before doing your whole home. Just some suggestions for you guys. So let's talk a little bit about how these toxins affect our autoimmune disease, our arthritis, and other various conditions that we may or may not be dealing with. So again, it's just the overall toxic load and stress on our body. So it's just more for our immune system that is already confused and struggling. It's just more for it to deal with. So it just creates more inflammation, and it creates more leaky gut and more symptoms overall. So Casey, I'm going to hand it over to you. And why don't you talk a little bit more about anything you wanted to add about that and what we can do?
Yeah.
But ended on a happier
note. Right. So I'm sure you guys have tuned into our toxicity lives. We talked a lot about it with detox and our challenge that we did. If you think about it in a toxicity load, we have this threshold that we can tolerate per se. So let's just think of a cup, right? And more toxins, we're just filling that cup higher and higher with tea or water. And then once that liquid gets to the top here, it starts pouring over, right? And this is when we get our symptoms. This is when we start feeling like dog shit, for lack of a better word. And our wrists hurt. We have rosacea and acne, and our bowels start to be weird, and our guts and bloating. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And then maybe we have brain fog, and we start with the shakes and Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. Anyways, so we have this load that we can handle. And when it starts spilling over, that's when we start displaying these autoimmune symptoms. So each time that you drink that tap water, or however long you prolong getting a filter for yourself, we're just adding more and more water to this cup. And we want to stop that, especially if you're not doing anything to empty the cup out, like our detox practices that we're preaching on every so often. So this is how it's affecting your autoimmune diseases. It's just filling the cup more and more. So do what you can right now. There's a lot of toxins we can't control, like the air we breathe and other things, but you can control your water quality for the most part. You can control how much water you drink for the most part. And we always recommend half your body weight in fluid ounces. And we can control how much detox we're giving our bodies so we can keep filling our cup with more of these uncontrollable toxins. And if you want to know more about that, because it's kind of tricky too, leave us a comment or DM us. We always love talking about toxicity. But as for, I mean, water quality in general, look up what filters you should get. Look into your water and what's in there. It might scare you to get a water filter, that's for sure. And don't let this live scare you to not drinking water. We're not trying to do that because hydration will be far worse than anything else that you can probably put in your body.
Absolutely. And you can even buy yourself an at-home water test kit as well.
Yeah.
So I don't have a
Yeah.
specific brand that I can recommend, but you can check that out online and see what you find. And that might just give you a good place to start. So you have some more awareness about what you're actually dealing with in terms of your water quality at home. So,
Exactly.
but yes, don't stop drinking water. Important. And I really hope you enjoy the rest of your Valentine's Day, if you celebrate it or not. What's the other thing for people who don't celebrate Valentine's Day, who hate Valentine's Day? Is there a new celebration with a name that I'm missing or forgetting about?
I don't know. I just know Galentine's Day and Valentine's
Oh,
Day.
I like Valentine's Day. That's cute.
Yeah. Why
So
not?
enjoy the day however you enjoy Valentine's Day or not.
On that note,
On that note, I will be back on Thursday. So we'll see you then. And Casey and I will both be back next week.
bye, everybody.
Bye.